You don't have to hide everything around the art. You don't have to pretend that this is a perfect piece of art that can happen without other elements, like gravity exists. Science, bit of a dodgy subject for me. This is the most important part of the video. The elements of this piece of theatre, maybe we could do the rest of the video like this, but we were just all allowed to hear this really, you know, for quite a while. The curtain moved quite slowly. It's been a while since the last time I did this, so it'll be an experience for us all. Hi and welcome to the channel. A lot goes on this channel, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about a piece of dance theatre that I watched at DanceEast recently. So it was a piece called Enowate, and it was created and performed by Dickson MBI, and I later found out that he was part of the Akram, or is part of the Akram Khan company. So it was a very interesting and thought-provoking piece, which inspired me all the way through to be thinking, there's so much that I want to express and talk about. So I thought I'd take some time and make this video to express some of the thoughts that I had whilst I was watching this performance. A dancer of extraordinary power and grace, Dickson MBI summons multiple identities in this mesmerising solo performance, inspired by a life-changing journey to his ancestral home in Cameroon. The symbolic presence of a two-headed snake, the tiger whose roar vibrated as part of a funeral ritual, the knowing touch of a blind elder. It was these unnerving encounters that profoundly affected the London choreographer during a recent trip to his family's village. They have all brought him closer to the animistic practices of his African heritage and to the mystical place where they meet with his modern East End upbringing. So you can see, if you know me at all, you might be able to guess the number of ways I found it inspiring. I found it inspiring as an audience member just to be watching this incredible piece of art. As a dance artist, it really gave me some interesting thoughts and thought processes that I hadn't had, at least not in recent years, about the way that I create work and why I do. And also as someone who is of the African diaspora, and that feeling that I haven't yet physically and geographically felt of going home to where your ancestors are from and having that emotional experience. And it's things that I talk about a lot. I have a lot of friends who have had those experiences, and I kind of live through those experiences but haven't had my own. So this was another way for me to... My camera stopped recording. I don't know what I was saying, but I think it was me basically saying it's another experience that I can add a lot of feelings, a lot of experiences, and I'm going to share them with you. Before we begin, I'm going to go and make myself a hot chocolate. You guys can do the same. We'll have a nice cozy chat about the elements of this piece that blew my mind and how it has affected, or I would like it to affect, my dance practice and me as a dance artist. And also what it's like to be a couple / several years post-graduation and examining a piece of dance theatre in such a hyper-focused way again. It's been a while since I did anything like this, so it will be an experience for us all. So I went to see this performance with my mum, and a lady came and sat next to us called Barbara, and we'd never met her before, and it was actually really serendipitous. We all had similar interests, and we had a lovely friendship that, you know, you can only get from sitting next to someone in a theatre and being excited about what you're about to see. And then afterwards, at the end, we spent like quite a long time talking about what we just seen, and it was a really lovely sharing experience. But it's also partly what inspired me to make this video. So as I read at the beginning, I had read the bio and it was giving like strong animal vibes. So I watched the performance and I was like, I could pick them all out. I was like, oh yeah, this is this animal, there's the lion, and there's a monkey, and there's various different animals. Entirely my interpretation, but the word animal was said. I could see animals. Whether that's what Dickson was intending is, But my mum and Barbara, they were fully on like the insect vibe and frogs, and I was like, yeah. So I afterwards, once they told me about it, I could see it on reflection. But while I was in the piece, while it was happening, there was no way insect was coming into it, because I'd like fully locked myself onto animal. And because I enjoy the way animals move, and I find that personally quite interesting, I was looking forward to that like the whole way through, so I couldn't like unlock my brain to see anything else, which is interesting. It's interesting what we do as audience members based on the information that's given to us. But I don't want to give too much away, but I'm going to reference some of the highlights. So in the beginning, there's this whole section where it was very metaphorical. My interpretation was that it was very metaphorical. So I'm going to give a disclaimer now. I feel like I'm going to apologise for making my own interpretations of this piece. So I'm going to get all my apologies away now and say, don't worry about it, to me. Don't worry about it. You can make your interpretations however you want, and this whole video is my interpretations. Now I've said it, hopefully I can get over myself and just speak how I feel. So, the metaphor in the beginning. Dickson's various different body parts are being moved around the stage, or rather not moved, being stuck to different points of the stage. So his foot would be stuck to the stage, and every other part of his body could move except this one foot. And then something would happen and his foot would suddenly be free and able to move. But in the process of doing that, his other foot would get stuck and that foot would be unable to move. And so it felt like, you know when you've got obstacles and things in your way, and as soon as you've gone over one obstacle, something else comes in your way. And that's what it really felt like to me. And that happened throughout the piece, but I guess it was mainly concentrated at the beginning of the piece. And it moved around, I guess, I don't want to say energy, but this motion of having something stuck moved around different parts of his body. Like his foot got stuck, his hand got stuck, it got stuck to his head. You'll have to bear with me while I think of a word to swap out for interesting, because it's my go-to word for anything. I'm going to try and swap it with thought-provoking. So a segment of this piece that was thought-provoking was the way that there was so much silence and therefore space on the stage. So anything like, the foot getting stuck to the ground, we hear it, and that like his hand, there was such a connection with his head, we could just hear it slapping. And there was so much body percussion that wasn't, hello, I'm going to do some body percussion now, like I guess in a traditional sense, but the movement of the body meant percussion was happening. So that was really interesting. And also another bit that's a bit weird, but I really enjoyed, is that the curtain just opened and it was so noisy, but no one tried to hide it. We were just all allowed to hear this really, for quite a while. The curtain moved quite slowly. We were all allowed to hear that. No one tried to hide it with this really big and loud dramatic music. And it just really made me, feel happy to be back in a theatre, because that was actually one of my first experiences being back in a theatre in like the last couple of years. And also knowing that every element is there on purpose. The curtain has to move, so why shouldn't we hear it? The dancer has to move around the space, so why shouldn't we hear it? I don't know. I think maybe when I was a bit younger, or just having different experiences, those are the types of elements that I would have tried to hide or thought that I had to hide. And seeing this made me realise you don't have to hide everything around the art. You don't have to pretend that this is a perfect piece of art that can happen without other elements like gravity exists. Science, bit of a dodgy subject for me, but by the by, it was really cool that we were allowed to experience all of those factors, whether intentional or not. So something that is important to note, and I don't actually know why I didn't lead with this. I think when you hear it, you'll be like, why did she not lead with this? This is the most important part of the video. So Dickson was, right, focus. So 57-minute long piece. Dickson was upside down for 30 minutes. He was upside down for 30 minutes. We did not see his face for 30 minutes, okay? Never have I been in an audience where I've wanted to give someone a glass of water so much. Not that you're watching and you're like, God, they must be tired. Like, I was watching and I thought, is he okay? Oh, he's been upside down for quite a while now. And then it kept ticking and ticking and time kept ticking. And the dance was getting more and more powerful and energetic and the music was building and so much was happening and the lights. And he was upside down. I was like, crikey. I get tired doing like a salsa routine for 4 minutes and he's... I'll insert a video of literally how upside down he was for the like, his head down. Obviously dance is very, very physical, but there's still an element that I don't always tap into, which is how much of the characterization and the storytelling and the acting and the drama that comes through with the facial expression. Now, I and the people that I spoke to left the theatre having an interpretation of the story of what we felt was going on. We managed to get that with a minimal face. What am I trying to say? With minimal... We didn't see his face. We didn't see his face for like so long, but we got so much out of it. So the articulation in his spine, in his back muscles, they told so much of the story that, you know, you'd have like a tiny like eyebrow lift or like your eyes like dart over there and, you know, and you as an audience, you're looking over there. We got all of that from just his body moving and like, incredible. Hats off. I'm not wearing a hat. I'd throw it off. All of the above. To be able to, as an audience member, know what's going on and follow the story that you're expressing to us while we can't see your face. Not in that while we can't see your eyes, but like while all we're looking at for such a long time is the back of your head and your shoulders and your back. And that's where a lot of the animal qualities came into it for me. I think there was like some roaring of a lion or a tiger within the, what's the word, music? The noise, the sounds within the music, and that was really represented physically, and it was so creative with like the way that the lights were moving that we were getting parts of Dickson's body were highlighted to us and parts were hidden, and it was all there but they were in shadow, so the lighting was forcing us to focus on different elements. That was a big part in us, you know, getting the story without seeing facial expressions, which normally like tells so much. This entire video, I'm giving so much with my face. Like, you're not getting that much from me right now. I'm going to tell you a wonderful, lovely story, and maybe we can do the rest of the video like this, but I have a feeling you're not going to get that much from me. I'm going to spin back round. So, I don't know how engaging that was. You can't see my face. This is such a weird video. But what was interesting is, for the first part of the piece, we weren't getting that much eye contact. There wasn't much of Dickson's face that we were getting to see, but he still kind of was presenting towards us. And then after a while, suddenly it became a game, and it opened up into this jovial, playful game where Dickson's looking at all of us in our eyes and giving things to us and wanting us to give it back to him. The tone changed so much, and that was something where I was like, wow, this is kind of where I don't say stagnate, but like where I stop as a dance artist. And being able to give so much of yourself to the audience and let them really buy into what you are offering them, all while being a solo performer on stage with no set. It was just fantastic. But beyond, oh, this is a fantastic piece of work and I really enjoyed it, like, genuinely the craft, trying to put it into words, I guess the craftsmanship and the time and dedication that was put into creating this piece, and also that Dickson put into himself as a dance artist, you could see that because of the quality of what we were seeing. So the number one realisation I had whilst watching this is the title of the video. If you watch good art, you'll be inspired to make good art. Simple concept, apparently mind-blowing to me. You know, I graduated when I did, and then we've had like 2 years being in and out of this pandemic and lockdown state, and I've been feeling like I've plateaued a little bit with my dance practice. And after watching this performance, I was like, oh yeah, wow, I have so many thoughts going through my brain. And I think it's because I haven't been able to experience live theatre and live dance for so long that I forgot, then tried to like inspire myself and was unable to, and was like, guess it's my life now, I am a mediocre dancer, without thinking maybe I can watch some pieces of work and get inspired by that. So I think the main thing for me is when Dickson was moving, how do I express this in a way that you're going to understand without having seen it? Every different part of his body moved, and it was so articulate, and it was intentional. So when I think about my own dance practice, I think, you know, a piece of music will come on and my body and different parts of my body will start undulating and moving and having this kind of liquid like movement. But I think it's a physical response to the music rather than a precise, intentional thought process. So I then started examining the way that I create work and how I create dances, like pieces. And I was thinking, oh yeah, so the piece of music will want me to move in this way, so I'll do this, and then I'll do this, and blah blah blah, and then I'll move into this, and you know, how you make a dance piece. And within those movements that I have decided that I would like to do because they respond to the piece of music and they tell the story that I would like to, different parts of my body move and are articulate. But I think that's a very secondary process, and the fact that I have decided to do a basic step or any kind of step because I guess the undulation that I know happens when I do that step responds to the music and tells the story that I want it to. But the impression I got from Dickson was that every little element of every muscle in the back that was moving, that element in itself was specifically chosen and put there on purpose to punctuate this piece. And that's like another level to what I do. And it made me start, you know, not critiquing, but definitely looking through a critical lens at my work and going, hey, this is what I do, and this is what other people do, or, you know, Dickson in this example, and what can I do to make my creative process better or just different? You still with me? Because that was a lot of words, and I don't know if I've made a load of sense, but we power through. So for example, something that I don't do that I know a lot of people do, and I just don't do it because it's not the way that I was taught / have developed my dance practice, but having a larger amount of time to experiment with just responding to a piece of music or a stimulus, recording that, being aware of the different ways that my body can move organically and naturally without me even thinking about it, and then highlighting those moments and, I guess, you know, picking out the good ones, picking out what works and what doesn't, and putting them specifically into a piece. Because I think I'm not aware of what my body can do, and I think I do moves and stuff happens and I'm like, wow, that's cool. But say the way that my spine and my chest moves in, you know, like a salsa basic step, for example, there's no reason that the way my upper body moves there can't be put onto a different style of dance, a different step entirely, and creating a whole new dynamic and a whole new way of moving. Maybe not a whole new way of moving, but like new to me, unique to me. So that started like that ball rolling, and the next thing that was so, I guess I want to say paramount, but I don't actually know what that word means, obvious, important to me, was that as there's so many performers, and it's just like when people, our maker, our creator, whatever, was, you know, being like, oh, this person's going to be really good at dancing and they're going to be really technical and they're going to have loads of style and blah blah blah, I got missed out with the technique and the face department. Well, to a degree, the face department to tell a story, I missed out on. I can do the old smile, the joy. I'm feeling joy. You guys want to feel joy? Let's all feel joy together. That I can do. The telling of a story is something that I've not fully been able to master. And what was really interesting when I was watching, I said interesting again, what was really striking while I was watching this piece is the way that we were allowed and accepted into Dickson's world by use of his face or not use of his face, depending on what he wanted to tell us. And when he was using his face, it was a lot more lighthearted. It was a lot more comic. And all he was doing was moving around the space, this ball of energy that he had where things of his body was getting stuck and blah blah blah, and this whole thing. And there was comedy, and he was looking at us, and his eyes were glinting, and he was like willing us to have a response, whatever that is, like we laughed. And then he'd give something to us, and then he'd want us to give it back to him, and all of that was happening through his face. And I was like wow. That's just something that I don't do. I was going to say I can't do, and I don't think I'm limited, but it's something that I don't currently do, and that's not a way that I make art. And that's not to say that I make art badly, and Dickson makes art in the best way possible, and he is the best dancer. That's very subjective. It might be true, but it's very subjective, and this isn't to, you know, be self-deprecating. And but it's interesting to highlight, or is it interesting to highlight? I've got to get better words, man. I need a diction. I need a thesaurus is what I need. It is useful to notice how other people use their face in pieces of work, the story that tells, the emotions that they're portraying in contrast or in relation to the rest of their body, and how I can do that with the stories that I want to tell. I'm especially running out of spaces in my house to film videos that are quiet, that have good lighting, so we've resorted to the floor of the kitchen. You'll probably see my dad cycle past at some point, so be warned for that moment. So I guess it's really important to be, as a developing artist, as any kind of artist, to be consuming pieces of work that are, I guess, entirely different to your personal practice, but also that is so inspiring, because you get so much out of it. And I think it's why, in fact, I know it's why, when you're in like an organisation like the Cat Scheme at DanceEast or Artistry Youth Dance, the leaders teach us how to dance on the weekend, blah blah blah, and then they make sure that we go to theatres and watch pieces of work, so that we get out of our bubble and the way that we think we should do things, and we get to see other people doing so many different creative ideas that, you know, come into our internal database and like inform the work that we're going to create in the future. So for example, in this piece, Dickson like went on a journey, like from one side of the stage to the other, and like walked and moved, and like again, face was not to the front. Checking that's not behind me. Face was not to the front. He was walking, moving, and I think, I may be wrong, but I think the audio were people talking about home and going home or coming home, welcome home, things like that. Maybe wrong. And so we got to witness this journey, and that was really interesting, and it actually reminded me of a couple of years ago. I watched my friend Mahadi, who I always speak about, do a piece called The Orphan Stain, and that also had a journey as well. And then look on my own thing and my own practice, and I just made a theatre piece which goes on a journey. And it's interesting because there were, if you look at you know, Dickson's piece, Mahadi's piece, and my piece, they're three completely different pieces of work. But then you start to think, okay, what are the similarities between them? Okay, Africa is a similarity in all of them. We're all either African or of the African diaspora. We all go on a journey, but the journeys are all so different. But journeying is still a big part of the story that we were telling. And it made me kind of think, you know, like I'm unpicking this as I'm like making the video. Maybe something I make in the future can also go on a journey. And what elements can I take from, you know, what I saw in Dickson's piece, what I saw in Mahadi's piece, and what I did myself, but also make this a new journey? Because, you know, every time, God, this got weird. Every time you go on a journey, even though it's the same journey from, you know, your house to your work, it's the same journey, but it's different every time because it's not the same, because everything else around you has changed as well. Weird analogy. But basically making me think that, I don't know what it's making me think. I guess making me think that there's elements that I can take from pieces of work that I admire and letting that inform, that's what I said earlier, taking elements of pieces of work that I admire and letting it shape the way that I come to creating work in the future. I feel like I've repeated myself, but it was worth saying, so I've said it twice. Just as a side note, this whole video is just a bunch of side notes. The music within this piece was so vibrant, explosive, storytelling, that's not an adjective, other words, I can't express it. But what I can say is I was watching it and I was so like, I was in. Now, the music that was being played, because it was all recorded, it was not live, for example. But I still got such a big, I'll get to my point in a second, I got such a big emotional response and connection to it. Now, all that to one side. Me. When I make a piece of work, I feel like I only make the pieces of work that I can physically do. So I know that I can do a dance, I know I can get Joe to film it, and I know I can dance to Beyonce, and my mum can make me a dress to wear. They are all things that I can do. So therefore, sometimes I think my creativity stops there. I kind of create within the realms of what I know I can complete, perform, execute. So the music that was being played, it was so explosive, and my thoughts, if I was like going to make something similar, I'd want that energy but wouldn't know how to get it. So I'd think to myself, I really want to do this really impactful piece with this really loud, expressive music. Oh, but I don't have the music, so I can't do it. So then I'd have this idea and I'd just shelve it because I feel like I can't do it. And I actually spoke to one of my friends this morning and we had a bit of a chat about, why should we make work why should we create art within the realms of what's possible just because that's what we think is possible? Because sometimes we're a little bit dumb and we don't think as widely as we could, and there's this much stuff and beyond of things that we can recreate. But if I keep it to myself and I'm like, I can only do this, this, and this, and this, then I won't be making the work that I want to make, and also I won't be making work that other people will want to consume, and I'll just get stuck. So I guess that brings me back around to the point of going out and finding pieces of work that are not, finding pieces of work that you can then draw inspiration from will just make you, a better artist, a better performer, a better creative person. I think. So that whole video ends with me going, I think. This is just me working it through as I went. When I began this video, I was going to just do a general kind of review, and I thought, well, it's not going to be a review because what right do I have to review this work of art? But then as I was going through it, I was like, oh, well, it's really informed my dance practice. So then I thought, okay, maybe I can do it from the angle of, how this piece and other pieces like it have affected the way that I work. So that's the journey I have taken you guys on. I hope you have enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to making more, I still don't know what to call it, videos, pieces of work, pieces of art, if you can call it that, about other pieces of art. I would love to, talk about other musicals, other dance shows, blah, 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 loads of stuff. So if you've got any ideas, then let me know. I do have a couple that I'm going to think about. Other than that, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow Dickson, check him out on, I think, Twitter and Instagram, Dickson MBI. I'll put the links down below. Yeah, down below. God, I never know where these videos are gonna. Anyway, I'll put the links in the description. You can follow my links as usual. Rosie May Online, Rosie May Dancer, all of the above. I usually make dance workouts, videos watching me dance, stuff about activism, stuff about gaming, very wide and diverse YouTube channel this may be. And this is a new little avenue I've travelled down and I've really enjoyed it. So I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!